All right, ladies and gentlemen, as we approach a very tumultuous end of the month in September, approaching October 1st, Nord Stream 2 blows up. Yes, that's correct. The gas pipeline that feeds Europeans basically on the cusp of freezing all winter, has their major pipeline, Nord Stream 2, blow up today. And we have very graphic satellite images, and some are saying that it could have been sabotage. I'm going to get into this in a lot more here in a minute. Of course, I'm Christopher Greene. This is AMTV, and it is September 27th, 2022. Please share this far and wide. In addition to Nord Stream 2 pipeline blowing up today, and you can see this graphic images, it's also being reported that Nord Stream 1 is also having problems as well. So this is very, very significant. Again, Europe is set to freeze this winter. This includes millions and millions of people in the Eurozone, which is expected to be a very harsh coming months. And we've got a map here, of course, of both pipelines, including the pipeline that just recently blew up. Of course, natural gas prices are up over 200%, shot a lot higher today on this news, on the sanctions that have been implemented by the West, not just European nation states. We did get a new leadership change in Italy that actually looks somewhat promising over the last few days, but also the Biden sanctions. But here's what's really interesting about this is Joe Biden, the president, warned in a very stern warning just months ago, in February, I believe it is. I'm going to show you this article, that Nord Stream wouldn't exist if Russia invaded Ukraine, which it did. So the question is, who sabotaged the pipeline? Was it Russia, or was it Biden who actually threatened the pipeline itself just a few months ago? So let's get into this article, and then you let me know what you think in the box below. Again, as we live through a hyperinflationary economic collapse here in the westernized world. This is from the Associated Press. You can see the bubbling waters, of course, above me. Denmark said Tuesday it believed that deliberate actions by unknown perpetrators were behind the very big leaks, which seismologists said followed powerful explosions under the sea. Now, you could send, for example, a SEAL team underwater to plant devices and bombs to blow up the pipeline. So I don't know if that happened or not, but that would be a pretty much run-of-the-mill approach. Or an undersea submarine maybe could have potentially fired some kind of missile at the pipeline. European leaders and experts pointed to possible sabotage amid the energy standoff with Russia, provoked by the war in Ukraine. Now, of course, it's also very important to note that Vladimir Putin just called up to 300,000 new reservists in Russia, and could call up as many as 1 million plus, up to 25 million in the event that there is truly a World War III confrontation. Now, the U.S. government is on red alert. Of course, nuclear forces have been on alert, Russian forces and U.S. forces, since well before the invasion began. And the United States came out and reported today that they've stepped up their intelligence on potentially a tactical nuke, which is much more difficult to detect, and I think more likely than intercontinental ballistic missiles in a full-scale nuclear conflict. Although that's possible, and I've said I would put the risk of tactical weapons, in my humble opinion, of nearing 50%, and all-out cataclysm intercontinental ballistic hypersonic nuclear tip missiles at maybe 10 or 20%. Again, this would further the narrative, ladies and gentlemen, as it's always Putin's fault. It's the Putin price hikes for inflation. It's not the Fed. It's not the central bank keeping rates low or bailing themselves out into infinity. It, of course, is always someone else's fault. And in the case, as Biden has said, the Putin price hikes. So let's get back to this article, and then I'm going to show you very damning statements made by the president to let you decide for yourself who possibly is the sabotager of this pipeline itself. So let's go to that right now. Biden, in February, is speaking. This is Reuters. This is an official media report. Biden pledges to end the Nord Stream 2 if Russia invades Ukraine. So again, sounds like this was probably the work of the United States. Sounds like he threatened this, Joe Biden did, that something would happen to Nord Stream 2 if Russia invaded. So here's a question for you, ladies and gentlemen. Would Joe Biden and the Western Empire literally sabotage Europeans intentionally this winter so they stand to freeze in a hyperinflationary collapse, sending the price of natural gas, oil, and other commodities through the roof? This doesn't really make a lot of sense. Like, why would you hurt? You're not hurting the Russians here, Mr. President. You're actually hurting Europeans. And also there's a video here, another corroborating report from C-SPAN that you can see, and you can watch this video for yourself, with again Joe Biden warning that he would put an end to Nord Stream 2. Also reports coming that there's problems with Nord Stream 1. This is from C-SPAN February 7, 2022. President Biden on Nord Stream 2 pipeline. If Russia invades Ukraine, we will bring an end to it. In addition to these blasts, in addition to hyperinflation and these seismic economic, political implications that are coming our way, we have an extreme emergency approaching in Florida. A master weather event that the White House, FEMA, is now urging Floridians to listen to local officials and possibly calling for the evacuation of millions of local residents. And this is interesting because, of course, states like California are going to ban gasoline cars. But how do you use electric cars like in Florida when the grid goes down during a storm? You can't. So you're actually crap out of luck if you own a Tesla or an electric vehicle, proving the point once again, just like Europe is freezing and they can't get the cleaner energy natural gas, they're now moving to dirty coal. They've actually backtracked and are harming, according to them, the planet even worse than they were before. California, of course, just months ago, having grid problems with its electrical grid due to the extreme heat, was telling people to not even charge their electric vehicles. So this is also kind of hilarious, but very, very serious. And my prayers go out to local residents in Florida, the great state of Florida. This article here, CNBC, says, listen to local officials, evacuate, asked as Hurricane Ian approaches. And they say this is going to be a 100-year storm, 125 miles per hour winds, up to 25 inches of rainfall, and possibly a storm surge surging above 10 feet. So this is really extremely serious, ladies and gentlemen. Also, the stock market looks like an absolute turd. As predicted, we are officially in a bear market. The Federal Reserve Central Bank, I think, is fake hiking here. I think that they will backtrack soon. Although we're starting to see some easing in housing in Middle America, the prints are still double-digit gains month to month. So it's not as if there's actual price declines. No, it's just instead of 25% hyperinflation month over month, it's like 18% in the Sun Belt right now, based on some of the reports I was reading today from the S&P Case-Shiller Index. Again, ladies and gentlemen, my whole thesis has been for some time, since I was telling you guys about Bitcoin under 1,000 years ago, told you to buy at 3,500. I'm telling you to buy now. It's not financial advice, but it's my humble opinion. I think we're poised for another Ponzi scheme pump by the central bank and the Federal Reserve. It's the only thing I know in my short 41 years of life. The only thing I've ever experienced by the central bank is Ponzi pumps, short economic collapse, followed by more printing, followed by more inflation and more infinite bailouts. Just like we got bailouts, PPP loans in recent years, just like we had the bailouts in 2008-09, just like the U.S. debt is sitting at an astonishing $30 trillion. Also, so you need to be buying this dip, in my humble opinion. Links below. Get in at school today. Also, in addition to that, we see the UK pound on its way to all-time lows. In fact, could drop below $1 USD equivalent. So we're seeing the currency markets absolutely collapse. And this is the perfect setup because we know what they're going to blame the economic depression and the collapse on. Putin, Russia. And I'm not saying Russia's even good. I'm just saying it's a blame game. It's a scapegoat. And as we move into a world where places like Dubai, I believe it is, are now giving away free bread because there's such a separation from the elites and those who have all the wealth through this wealth transfer and those that have nothing, as the United States kicks the can down the road and we sit on the precipice of World War III and a possible nuclear event here in the westernized world, and we move to guaranteed UBI. As celebrities cancel their tours over the next 5 to 6 months, people like Justin Bieber and others, I believe they know something that the general public doesn't. And again, the American public, you tuning in, and you in the westernized world, or anywhere you're tuning in around the world, will always be the last to know. Get in now, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Christopher Greene. Again, build your arcs, build your financial, economic, spiritual arcs, especially when it comes to your money. Be very, very studious. Learn as much as you can. Get in at school today, the Island Project Club. It's your last chance to get in. End of month, $1,500 minimum. You can set your amount here. Includes a private consultation with me for the first 25 of you. So make sure you get in. I'd love to speak with you today or the next couple of days. Make your reservation while you still can. Learn about what we're doing with Island Project, fractionalizing real estate, getting out of the banks that we don't trust, that I think we're moving into a debt collapse and an obvious debt jubilee with Joe Biden canceling up to $500 billion worth of student loan debt. I think this is going to affect, like dominoes, the entire banking sovereign debt system. Just like we saw the pigs nations collapse in 2009, the United States is going through its own economic, planned, fiscal, financial, spiritual, economic decline, and it's going to get much worse. So you got to get out of dollars, ladies and gentlemen. You got to protect yourself. You got to learn how to earn staking rewards. You need to learn about crypto, Bitcoin, the Island Project, and what I believe is the #1 opportunity in the world right now. So click the link below, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you get into that today. I love you. Jesus Christ is King. Share this message far and wide, and please like it and leave us a comment as well, and book your spot as we close out the month. It's your last day and last opportunity to get into the club now. Book your spot, pre-order big, and click that link below now.